Right, hello again. I wanted to make a video about a few roads that I think are quite learnable and very useful, generally being high damage and far away from other things. So yeah, hopefully something for everyone. I think, pros will know quite a few of these, but might refresh the memory, and sometimes even some tips to guess sort of which part of the road you're on. And definitely for beginner to intermediate players, some things to learn here. So starting off with number one. So first one I want to talk about is Senegal. So the North Road is actually quite far away from the rest of the coverage, and a lot of people aren't that comfortable region guessing in Senegal, so we'll just plonk there. So let's think about the North Road. So what do we have? It's paved, first of all. It has quite red soil, second of all. We have the silver car. So a bit of meta will be important on this one to sort of differentiate it from other roads. Very, very cloudless. So we've seen this, paving, red soil, cloudless. Now let's look at some of the other east-west roads. So we actually have antennaless car here and a slightly more cloudy sky. Yeah, as we can see. So that's how to tell it from this road. And then the Tambacounda road has very, very deep red soil. Actually has no car as well. So this North Road in Kenya, very useful. Now, actually, one thing, sorry to mention, is that further east, as the angle starts to go southeastwards, we do lose the car, but we still have that very sort of cloudless, clear quality to the coverage, and that will remain, as you can see. So that's the first road. Okay, next one. I think I wanted to actually just look at Russia. So this is one of the most well-known things in all of Geoguessr. I think if you've watched rainbow tournaments and things like that, this will come up. So basically it's this sort of forest fire coverage around Yakutsk, but maybe newer players might not know that it does sort of extend all the way out on this road to Mirny. Now, there are some region guessing tips for this general area. So one is that close to Yakutsk, you'll have a lot of deforestation. We have that smog, that haze in the air, but really, if you look here, actually no trees in the frame. Now, that's mostly around the city. Now, let's just have a look at the road here. So, sure, we see a lot of trees. However, they don't really tend to come all the way up to the road. And then even here, again, not all the way up to the road. Let's compare this with further west, okay? So, towards Mirny, you have this red dirt, which is obviously very different. Very strong haze, but we have the trees sort of coming all the way up to the road. Similarly here, very densely forested. And if we look at the middle of the road as well, yeah, I mean really much clearer in terms of tree coverage. So that's a sort of regional thing for this area. I think everyone is aware of sort of Yakutsk forest fire coverage. You might not be, but I think some people may be less aware of sort of how to guess which part of this area you're in. I mean, it's definitely lost me lots of points in the past, but I think I've improved at that now. Next one would be, I think we're going to look at the Dalton Highway. Yeah. So, again, very famous road. It might be the most remote road in Geoguessr, or at least way up there. I think in terms of points lost, if you're guessing elsewhere, it's pretty big. So, a couple of things. Kind of split it into like three sections. So the far north bit, north of the mountains, obviously flat, being north of the mountains. You'll see these metal posts with all the holes in. That's maybe like the best thing to remember, really. Once you've seen this, you'll remember it. And then it sort of stays like this. We see the posts again and again. But then I think once you get down to about here, this is where you can actually see the mountains. So worth bearing in mind. And when you're in the mountains, slightly different feel. Definitely possible to miss, but I think the key thing really is just how sort of northern these trees feel. If you've seen a lot of locations in Canada and the US, you'll sort of recognise this very thin, spindly sort of tree as being very northern. As we get down here, we'll see the same, except the road will actually have a centre line down here. Now let's just compare it to something else here, the Inuvik road. So you can see very different feel to it, very different paving. And even if we go all the way up here, Similar road surface to the Dalton Highway at the top here, but trees are different. We don't have those metal posts. Okay, great. Next one to look at, I believe, we'll stay in North America. Yeah, I want to look at the Labrador Road to Happy Valley Goose Bay. So again, if you're not guessing this road, your points are going to be really low because it's a long way from other stuff. So let's think about this. Right. The two things that really come to mind for this road for me are the trees. Really kind of heavier foliage towards the top of the tree a lot of the time. Look at that. And once you've seen this a few times, it becomes quite noticeable. The other thing is very sort of cloudless coverage. So you have this very blue, clear sky, the white horizon with this sort of dense foliage towards the top of the tree. Car is white, if that's of interest to you, and drives northeast. But we'll see this type of coverage the whole way along the road, really. All the same points apply to all these locations. So, yeah, I think in terms of region guessing the road, well, maybe Fowl would have to comment on that. I've not gone into quite that much depth on it yet, but obviously road angles are powerful. So I'd recommend that. Okay, next one. I wanted to go to Amazonas. So this was actually a bit tough. Like, I'm not going to claim this is the easiest road always, because there are other parts of Brazil that you could confuse this with. But let's just note a few things. So the road orientation is very important because it's quite a consistent northeast, slightly north-northeast angle. We also have the red unpaved road, very dense vegetation, just like a slight gap almost before the vegetation starts, and then it's very, very dense, especially up here. And we have the blue car driving southwest, if that's useful. So I'd say if you have all those factors, like the red unpaved road driving at this road angle, car going southwest, this kind of dense vegetation, at least consider this road, because you might guess over here and be a long way away. So I think that's an important one to know. I think we've got two more, if I'm not mistaken. I wanted to look at northern Kenya because actually southwestern Kenya, pretty comfortable. I think people find there's a lot of detail you can go into, but I think people can often tell this area from this area, and then they're happy hedging. That's fine. The northern roads are a bit more scary though. So this will take a little bit of not a huge amount of effort, but just a small amount of effort to commit some of this to memory, but I think it's probably worth doing. So let's look at the middle road. The middle road is paved and very, very red, okay? Red soil. The Lodwell Road is also paved. Slightly paler soil, more of a sort of Botswana feel landscape-wise. Another one is car drives north here, car drives south here, so that's something else you can use. Now the eastern road that goes all the way to the north is unpaved, as you can see here. Slightly sort of pink soil, mountains visible, but crucially unpaved. Now there's one last little tip relevant here, so that you do see an unpaved section down here, but the landscape is quite different. You see much redder soil in this east road, much whiter out towards the west. Final road I wanted to look at. This is one I really like. It's the South Coast Road in Australia. Does have a name which I forget. The Air Highway, of course. So this crosses the border from South Australia to Western Australia. There is some region guessing stuff for this that might be helpful. But first let's kind of think about the road generally. So orientation will be helpful, of course. There are a couple of bits with very consistent angles, which you can probably line up. Now let's think about this. So Western Australia's side of the road, we tend to see this red car. We also tend to have these outer rumble strips. Not unique to this road, but as a combination of the road angle, the general feel as well, definitely something to consider. Now, vegetation in Western Australia, some bits have much less, some bits have a bit more, as you can see here. But generally, the combination of the car and the rumble strips can at least give you an idea, but then you get a feel for it here. This is really, vegetation is generally quite low, and I think the further east we go, the more that becomes apparent. And as we cross over the border into Null Arbor, we will see very few trees, hence the name. Latin connection. So yeah, trees completely kind of disappear through this area. And we actually get a slightly different type of road as well. We don't really see the rumble strips anymore. I think even the car colour is different in South Australia. So yeah, no rumble strips, no trees. Road angle. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully, even if you're, a good player, a couple of bits here have refreshed your memory. And I think if you're a newer player, I'm not expecting everyone to just sort of instantly have these 100% memorized, but hopefully giving you a bit of a starting point. And if you have a browse yourself of these roads, you'll start to at least remember to think. Half the challenge in Geoguessr sometimes is remembering to think of things. If something occurs to you, then you're set. My biggest problem sometimes is when something just doesn't pop into my head. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed these. If you want more videos like this, let me know. I'd be happy to do more tips videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you soon.